Welcome back, No Business Soccer Podcast, fam. And today we're going to be previewing Serie A. And we have a lot of teams to go over. So let's get right to it. Snooze, kick us off.
Let's dig in. Yes. Welcome back to the No Business Soccer Podcast. And we're continuing our series on the previews for the 25-26 seasons. And I'm your host, Snooze. We're here with the whole fam. We have the Brainiac J fam in the back. Of course, Danny P on the ones and twos. And my boy, Hyde Man. Vic, what you sipping on, dog?
I'll tell you what I got today. Today I have Michter's American whiskey. And there's a reason I'll go over. You probably heard it in the last episode. But one, this is just a slammer. This thing you could drink all freaking night long. It's great going down. And that's because it's 41% alcohol by volume. Usually it's like 45 for bourbons, usually. But I need that because this is 3 of 4 episodes that we're recording on the same day. And I need to have not that much alcohol. Yeah, you're right. So I will go ahead and cheers you for this American whiskey here. And while we do that, go ahead and like and subscribe to the video. It's the best way to let YouTube know that, hey, maybe these guys are pretty cool and push us out to other people to give us a listen. So while you do that, cheers, everyone. Ding.
Boom. And while you're sipping on that, we'll just talk about these, what we're going to do today, and it's covering the 25-26 preview for Serie A, going through all the teams that were in the competition last season, all the promoted teams we did in another episode called I don't remember what we called it, Big. We called it back to school, new to the season. It was like a school theme, back to school kind of thing. But that would be Sassuolo, Pisa, and Cremonese. They're all in that. So we're doing the rest of those teams. We're going to have a lot of good info to break them down, all within an hour, hopefully less. So I think let's kick it off. Let's go to Italy.
Let's do it to Serie A. Ah, yes. I miss the music. And we will start off with alphabetically. The first one is AC Milan. AC Milan finished 8th place last year. They had 61 goals for, which was actually 15 less than they had the year prior. It was still tied for 3rd overall in the season. And they had 43 goals against, which was 6 less than they had the year before.
Yeah, and last season was a pretty big failure in AC Milan standards. They finished with no European football, and they sacked 2 managers. They did, however, win a Supercopa and beat Milan 3 times. They beat Inter 3 times. Yeah, I mean, there's that.
Did you go to the European competitions? Or we can go ahead and go.
Yeah. So, no. Sorry about that. My stuff kind of froze up on me here. Okay. Hey, we're going back into it. They went into the playoffs in the round of 16. They were beaten by Feyenoord, which for them is not a very good start, just like me here on the podcast. So they will not be back in the European competition next season because they finished in 8th. Not a good sign for Milan.
What a recovery, No Biz fam. Did you see that? There you go. That's why. Well, we're not professionals yet, but we're trying to get there. So AC Milan are headed by the Italian Massimiliano Allegri. He joined this summer from the SAC Conceição. I should have put another C in there. I saw the C too. But after he only took over from Fonseca in January. So, yeah. Key players that they had last year, the top scorer was the Captain American, Christian Pulisic. He's a 26-year-old American right winger. He had 11 goals and 11 assists, which also makes him the lead assist. Lead assist. Yeah, there you go. Lead assist guy for AC Milan.
Yeah, and players to watch. Of course, there's American on the team. Usually, I don't like to give all 3 to one guy, but hey, it's Pulisic. Outside of Pulisic, though, is Rafael Leao. He's one of the most electric players in Europe, and maybe that's a little controversial to say, but I will say he's not the most clinical, but definitely one of the most electric on the ball. And this season, it's looking like the odds are seeing they're going to tick up a little bit. To win Serie A, they're at a plus 550. To finish top 4 is minus 125. Word on the street for them, though, with Allegri coming in and with all of his pedigree he's bringing with them, odds makers have AC Milan bouncing back in the top 4. I think they have a good enough squad to do that, but if they want to achieve more, they got to bring in some more attacking talent. Losing Reinders is a huge blow, and adding Modric, that's cool, but how much more does he have in the tank, Vic? I don't know.
Do not know. But any help for Captain America would be good. And we will go ahead and move on to another almost American thing we have here. The ATL, we're going to Atalanta. Atalanta actually finished third last season. They had 78 goals for, which was second best in the league and 6 more than they had the year prior. And goals against was 37, which was fifth best in the league with 5 less than they had the year before.
And Atalanta had a terrific season in 24-25. In the year that they were Scudetto contenders all the way through until they hit a 3-game skid in March and early April. They produced the Serie A top scorer in Matteo Retegui. Ademola Lookman was on fire for most of the season. They just had a terrific season overall. And in Europe, they got into the playoff rounds of the Champions League, and they were upset by Club Brugge. Bruges, right? We heard it was Brugge, though. Great season, but disappointing how the Champions League and Serie A ultimately ended.
Yes, sir.
They will be back in the Champions League, by the way. Sorry, just throw that in.
All good. I thought that was given because anyway.
Yeah.
They got a new coach this summer, the Croatian Ivan Juric, long-time manager Gasparini. He's heading to Rome, and Juric is taking the reins for Atalanta. Juric is known for being a Gasparini disciple. After playing for him and managing under him, maybe that's why I work out there and end up the way it did in Roma, Southampton. But both clubs Juric managed last season. Some of the key players that they have from last season: Matteo Retegui. I like Retegui instead. The top scorer from last season, the 26-year-old Italian/Argentinian center forward, had 25 goals with 8 assists. Good stats for him. The assist leader that they had from last season is Raul Bellanova, the 25-year-old Italian right midfielder. Right midfielder had 10 assists.
Yeah, and the player to watch is definitely Ademola Lookman, a 27-year-old English-Nigerian center forward, had 15 goals and 5 assists for them last season. And now that Retegui is getting the bag and moving to Saudi, which is so crazy to me. All eyes will be on Lookman as the talisman for this for the A, and we'll see how they do with him next season because they're going to need him. I can't believe Retegui in his prime 26 going to Saudi, but hey, you get paid a lot of money. That might change things. For their odds for winning Serie A, plus 1,800 to finish in the top 4, plus 225. And with the money that they got from Retegui, they brought in a couple different players, mainly Lazar Samardzic, the Laser Samardzic, I've called him, from Udinese. They've brought in a couple other players, but no one that is truly someone I'm going to sit here and scream about. Word on the street for them. Odds have them finishing 6th and behind Roma, and that's behind Roma, by the way. So I think they could be in for a bit of a slide down the table. Atalanta, a lot of changes. Gasparini's out. Retegui's gone. There's a lot of leadership and a lot of goals that they're going to have to replace. And what about Juric's last couple of stops with Roma and Southampton has showed us that he's going to take over and just keep them back where they are. So finishing 6th seems a little... yes, it's less than where they've been the past couple seasons, but it just still seems like too much. Juric, he gets an offseason with them, but I honestly don't see them finishing that high up. I think probably an 8th place finish will probably be more fitting for them. And okay. It's an inside joke. Okay.
We're laughing. Just to let you guys know real quick, this is the third one we're doing. I think every prediction has probably 8th to 9th. They'll probably finish 8th to 9th. So this is another team we're at that. But we will keep going and move forward with another American adjacent kind of thing going on here because we are going over Bologna, which is spelled for us Bologna. Bologna finished 9th last season, and they had 57 goals for last year, which was 3 more than they had the year before. And they had 47 goals against, which is actually 15 more goals that they allowed in the year prior.
And this is another team that is kind of like a prime example of a team sneaking into the Champions League, and then they're not normally there, so they struggle in the league because of it. They didn't do a lot of losing last campaign, but they drew 14 times, which was the second most of any of the teams that got into Europe in the Serie A table. Only Juve's 16 or more, and we've talked about Juve before. They were drawing champions, not drawing champions, but you know what I'm saying? They tied a lot. We have to use the American word for that. Their 9th place finish also came down to not getting a win in the last 5 matches and losing 3 straight to close out the season. But with all that said, they end up beating Milan in the Coppa Italia. They They beat them in the final. They finished the year with a trophy, ending a 51-year drought, and it's all good news for them. In Europe last season, they were in the Champions League, and they finished 28th in the league phase out of 35, and they did not make it to the knockout rounds. Yes, they will be in the Europa League by virtue of winning the Coppa Italia last season.
Yes, sir. And they are headed up by the Italian Vincenzo Italiano, which is cheating, right? You can't just
this
be
this is Victor's alter ego if he was Italian. As a Vincenzo Italiano.
Italiano. Yeah, it's cheating. You don't need a Americano, it's like a gym Americano. Anyway.
Yeah, right.
He's been there since last year. And last season, some of their key players, their top scorer from last season is Riccardo Orsolini, the 28-year-old Italian right winger, had 15 goals with 5 assists, and their assist leader was Juan Miranda, this 25-year-old man from España, left back, had 6 assists.
Player to watch for them, Santiago Castro, 20-year-old Argentinian center forward, hit 8 goals and 5 assists for them last year, and only 20 years old. In his first full season, Castro showed real promise with an ascending Bologna side with more Serie A experience under his belt. I think I'm excited to see him take a leap. And if he does, maybe they do end up finishing a little bit higher in the table than the odds have them, because the odds, they are plus 8,000 to finish, to win Serie A, plus 500 to finish in the top 4, which is really good odds. To be relegated, plus 3,500. So that tells you all there is to know about that, because the word on the street, odds have them finishing 9th. And if I were a betting man, I would put money on them finishing more on the top 6 side in the table, because this team, they got their first taste of the Champions League and all the experience that comes with it. They didn't do a lot of winning there, but they got the experience. They just won the Coppa Italia, and they're one of the, for the most part, they're keeping the band together. There's not a lot of players leaving. I thought maybe Orsolini would take a big money move because he's kind of in the last years of his prime, and he is definitely in his prime right now, banging in goals for fun. I just don't see a world where they take a step back with an easier European competition on the horizon. Even if they lose Dan Ndoye, which when I wrote this, they hadn't, but now they did to Forest. He's gone. I think Orsolini and Castro take a step. And because there's a lot of questions hovering over them around the teams like Lazio and Fiorentina, the teams that are around them in the table, I think that Bologna is poised for a great season, Vic.
Yes, sir. We will see. And I think it's funny. I was trying not to laugh on the mic because they odds do have them finishing 8th or 9th, or like 9th, and you're like, nah, somewhere else. Yeah.
No,
everyone else 8th or 9th, their odds are for finish 9th. Nah, they're gonna finish somewhere else. But that's the story on Bologna. We will go ahead and keep it moving, because the next team we're going to talk about is Cagliari. Cagliari finished 15th last season. They had 40 goals for last season, which was 2 less than they had the year prior. And they have 56 goals against, which is actually 12 less than they had. So defense stepping up, just needed their offense to step up a little bit more.
Yeah, last season went about how the 23-24 season went. They are just outside of the relegation zone, but not close enough to mid-table. There's really not a lot to tell you about the Cagliari side.
Yeah, well, we could tell you their coach, Fabio Pisacane. I think that's how.
Oh, that
Italian
is tough.
It, right?
Yeah, that is tough.
Yeah. He joined this summer. He takes over for David Nicola, which is after just 1 season in charge. But their key players that they had, the top scorer from last year is Roberto Piccolo. I'm showing my Dragon Ball Z there.
Dragon Ball Z.
Yeah, my bad. He's a 24-year-old Italian center forward. He had 10 goals along with 3 assists last year. And your assist leader for Cagliari last year was Tommaso Aguelo. One of those. Tommaso Agello. He's a 30-year-old Italian left back. He had 7 assists to add on.
Yeah, and the player to watch for them is definitely Roberto. We're just going to call him Piccolo from now on.
Yeah,
Roberto Piccoli. By far the best player on this Cagliari side. It was his first full season, and in his first full season as a starter in Serie A, after being kind of a bench player on loan at Lecce in 23-24, he broke into double digits in goals. And if he can better that, Cagliari, they might just surprise some teams. We'll see. This is the side note for Cagliari is every time I saw a match for them, their stadium was packed. This wasn't a team that's like going towards the top of the table or for trophies. It didn't matter. Their stadium is always packed. Really cool. Odds have them to win Serie A plus 100,000, finishing in the top 4 plus 5,000, and to be relegated is plus 225, which tells you that they're probably more on that end. Cagliari, the word on the street for them, Cagliari are expected to finish right where they have recently in the 15-16 spot. And I don't see a reason to go over or under that mark. I think it's spot on because I feel like they're good enough to stay above the relegation zone, but not good enough to get into that mid-table range. So, yeah, good odds.
I think I'm going to go ahead and agree with you on those odds, and we will go ahead and move forward because our next team is probably one of the most nicest places. Como finished 10th last year, right in the middle of the table. They had 49 goals for, which is 10th. They just got promoted, so they had 10. They were in 10th spot last year, and goals against was 52, giving them the 12th best worst spot in the league.
Yeah, everyone would say that.
Yeah.
And last season, Como, they took some time to get going. I think there's a lot of promise, a lot of expectations, even based on the odds and pretty much the general feel going into last season. But they spent half of the season fighting in the relegation zone, and that was kind of not what we expected. So by the end of the season, though, they were on a tear, winning 6 straight matches from April to May, finishing 10th in the table. And not only were they winning games, but you can see them starting to develop under their coach, who we'll talk about here in a second. And the young players are starting to develop. They're starting to get better and grow as a team. And the players, of course, we're talking about is Nico Paz and Asandio. A great first season in Serie A for them. And I think there's many more to come.
Yes, sir. And the coach that you were alluding to is Cesc Fabregas, the Spaniard. He's been there since last year, 2024. And some of their key players that they had last year, the top scorer is Asane Diao, the 19-year-old Senegalese left winger. He had 8 goals and 1 assist. And their assist leader that they had last year is Nico Paz, the 20-year-old Spaniard attacking midfielder, had 6 goals go along with his not league leading, but the team leading 9 assists.
Yeah, and for Como, they brought in a lot of young, talented players up and down the pitch this summer, and it's still Diao and Paz that are here to kind of see this team through and kind of going into that next phase. Hopefully, we can see a full, healthy season from Diao because he did end up something with his knee or leg. I can't remember at the end of the season. He didn't end up getting to play it. But if they both stay healthy, this team could be special. To win Serie A plus 10,000, to finish in the top 4 plus 600. Which, hey, okay. To be relegated, plus 2,500. So this team, newly promoted last season, they're not even thinking about relegation in the odds this year. And a lot of these names, you're not going to know them, and I'm not going to act like I know them either. But when you see that they're bringing in everyone under 25 years old, and they're all attacking players with, like, it just screams to me that they're building for the future. And maybe in a couple of years' time, this is one of the juggernauts in Serie A. But word on the street for this team, arrows up in Como with a mid-table finish in Serie A under their belt. The odds makers have them getting right back to that mid-table spot. They had similar odds going into last season as well. So maybe that's good for them. With the experience they gained from the last campaign and the collection of young, talented players they are starting to attract from all over Europe, this team is building something special for their future, and they may start pushing for Europe this season. But they're such a young squad. They may start slow, but by the spring, watch out. They could be clicking, and this team could be dangerous. I'm excited to see this team a lot. Of course, the beautiful stadium, beautiful city. Stadium, not beautiful. But yeah, this is one of the most exciting teams in Serie A.
Yeah, I think it's one of our bucket list stadiums, and not specifically for the stadium, just to go to Como. That'd be pretty nice.
Exactly. Yeah. Go to Lake Como.
Yeah. It's one more team that we could add to our old stomping grounds, because this next team is one of our old stomping grounds, ACF Fiorentina. And I just had their kit on in our last episode, so take a look at that one as well. But last year, they finished 6th place. They had 60 goals for last season, which was 5th best, but it was also 1 less than they had the year prior. And they had 41 goals against, which was 6th best, and 5 less than they had the year before.
In a vacuum, though, finishing 6th and getting into the Conference League is what they do. They just always seem to do that. But when you take into context that they had a run from late September through the beginning of December, where they won 8 straight Serie A matches and ended that streak winning 9 of 10, it seems like it really seemed like they were going to be Scudetto contenders at the end of the year. But things changed once December rolled around, and they didn't win any of the 6 matches following that unbelievable 9 out of 10 games winning streak. They lost actually 4 of 6 matches, and it was just hot and cold this season towards the end. They didn't finish as strong as they kind of started. But in Europe last season, they got to the semifinals of the Conference League and they lost out to Real Betis. And yes, because they always are, they are in the Conference League again.
Yes, sir. And they're headed by Stefano Pioli, the Italian. He joined this summer for a second stint at Fiorentina after a weird situation with Raffaele Palladino, right, where he signed a contract extension at the end of the season and then left the club mutually just a week later. Not bad.
But weird stuff. I haven't heard anything else about it too, like why that happened. Just
yeah, I don't think I have either. That's crazy. Might have to look into that. Producers.
Yes. Please find out.
Their top scorer that they had, the key player that they had for last season, is Moise Kean. He is 25-year-old Italian center forward, had 19 goals along with 3 assists. And their assist leaders that they had last season, well, they had 2 of them, Dodo and Yassine Adli. Both of them had 6 assists last season.
Yes, and the player to watch is definitely Moiskin. Of course, I mean, he's the talisman up front for them, and how could it be anyone else? In his first season in Florence, he lit up Serie A for the Viola, and it looked like a new man from a player that was struggling over there at Juve and then kind of flamed out in PSG and Everton. So can he do it again? That is the big question. The odds for this team to finish winning Serie A is plus 6,500, 8th best odds, and to finish top 4 is plus 500. And whenever you go to the word on the street, odds have Fiorentina slipping in the table a bit from where they were last year. Looks like they're expecting better. They're expecting better seasons from Lazio and Milan, which would then therefore push down Fiorentina. But with the weirdness surrounding Palladino leaving, I don't know what to think of it. And on paper, they should be good enough to fight for the top 6. But I like Bologna and Como to take a step too. So honestly, our Fiorentina, I can see them taking a step back this season, Vic.
Yeah, we will see, and we might have to go visit that again because that was a fun game. That was a really fun game. But
that was.
Yeah. So we will keep it moving forward and try to get you out of here. The next team that we have is Genoa. Genoa finished 13th last year. They had 37 goals for, which was 15th best in the league, which is also 15 less than they had the year prior. And the goals against they had was 49, which is actually 9 less than they had the year prior, but it is also tied with 10th best in the league.
Yeah, in last season, it started rocky under Gilardino when where Genoa were in 17th and only a point above safety going into December. But once Vieira was brought in, turned things around, and Genoa finished comfortably in 13th place. It was a good season, a good way to end the season with Vieira at the helm.
All right. And like you said, Patrick Vieira, the Frenchman, took over in November 2024. He's their head coach just before the new year. The Arsenal legend took over for the sacked Alberto Girardino. Sorry, Dini. Jeez, I don't know why I put an eye on that. But the key players that they had from last season, Andrea Pinamonti, the 26-year-old center forward Italian, had 10 goals along with 1 assist on loan from Sassuolo. And I think Sassuolo will be back because Sassuolo is now up there with us. And the assist leader that they had, Aaron Martin, is the 28-year-old Spaniard left back, had 8 assists to tack on for this season.
And the player to watch for them, Kevin De Vinta, the young Belgian center back, is the brightest star in this Genoa squad. So naturally, if you're going to be the brightest star on a squad that's not in the top of Serie A, you're going to be linked with moves away, and he is this summer. If he stays, though, check him out. He's one of the more up-and-coming center backs in world football. To win Serie A, their odds are plus 50,000. To finish top 4, plus 3,000. And word on the street for this Genoa side, odds have them finishing between 12 and 13, which is around where they ended last season. Things did change with Vieira coming in for the second half of the year, but I don't know if the squad is deep enough for them to really push towards anything higher than that. I'm cool with these odds. It's just a good job by the bookies, 12th to 13th. I think Genoa finishes there again.
Good notes. Nothing to add. So we will keep moving forward with our next team we're going to be going over, which is Hellas Verona, or just Verona, I call them. They finished 14th last season. They had 34 goals for, which was 16th best in the league and also 4 less than they had the previous year. And not only that, they had 66 goals against, which was next to last in the league last year, which was 15 more than they had the previous year.
Yeah, you look at the numbers, you can tell that's not a good season for them. And this was definitely a boom or bust season with Hellas Verona. And What I mean by that is they had the least amount of draws in the entire Serie A with 7. They either won or they lost, but they weren't going down without a fight. And most of their matches, a lot of times they lost more than double the amount that they won. So it's just crazy to me. This team, it tells you why they were in 14th. But the fact that they won 10 matches meant that even though they weren't a good enough team by any means to stay up, they were still comfortably safe by the end of the season because they had done so much damage prior in the year. And this Hellas Verona side was definitely weird. And I remember seeing some results from them against bigger clubs and being like, is this team actually good? But I don't think it didn't turn out that way.
Yeah, well, their head coach Paolo Zanetti took over last year, 2024. He's of course Italian with that kind of name. The key players that they had last year, their top scorer was Kasper. Oh man,
Tengstedt, yeah,
Tengstedt, yes. The 25-year-old Danish center forward had 6 goals along with 2 assists, and their assist leader from last year is Ondrej Duda, the 30-year-old.
It's like tough names here.
yeah, I know. This is getting hard. Ondrej, and also this is the 3rd episode, my 3rd drink already, so this is not gonna get any better. I'm sorry, guys. But Ondrej Duda, the 30-year-old Slovakian center midfielder, had 4 assists and tacked on 1 goal to go with it.
And if you're going to watch this team, you're going to ask me who's a player to watch. Well, I'm going to ask the Hellas Verona fans to tell us. How about that? You tell us what person to watch for this team. The odds suggest that to win Serie A plus 100,000, meaning they're not going to finish top 4 plus 10,000, which is really high. So they're basically saying they're towards the bottom because their odds to be relegated are plus 150, which is the 3rd best worst, however you want to call that. And you can see it. We talked about how they just were boomer bust last season. And that feels more like a luck stat than anything. So a word on the street is the odds are looking pretty good that they'll go down this year. And I can't see too many teams that I think Verona are better than. I went through when I was doing the research here to say, okay, could their squad be better than this team? The way that just kind of judging how they'll do. And I think they'll be fighting it out with the newly promoted clubs. And it'll be tough for them to stay up.
Yeah, and we will see. And we will also move right along with the next team we're going to go over, which is a big one, Inter Milan. Inter Milan took 2nd place last year. They had 79 goals for, which was league leading, but it was 10 less than they had the year prior. And they had 35 goals against, which was 2nd best in the league. And they gave up 13 more goals than they did the year before.
And 2 points separated Inter from going back-to-back in the Serie A for getting the Scudetto. And overall, it was a great season for Inter, and yet ended with a sour taste in their mouth and their manager leaving in Europe. We all saw them go through Bayern and Barca en route to the final against PSG and thought maybe this Inter side can get it done. Maybe they have a chance here, but overall they lost in embarrassing fashion 5-0 in the final. They will be back in the Champions League, though, with a team that's a lot of turnover.
Yes, sir. And as you said, their manager left. So joining earlier this summer is Cristian Chivu. He is Romanian, I believe, right? He's Romanian? Yeah. He's Romanian. Yeah. Go ahead.
And he joined earlier this summer for Simone Inzaghi because the reason that we're talking about a lot of turn is because Simone Inzaghi, he leaves at the end of the season. Chivu jumps ship from Parma to take over the club that he was with for 7 years prior to that. Chivu was actually moving up the ranks to Inter Milan coaching tree because he went from the under 14s to the under 19s from 2018 to 2024. And it felt like he was always going to be the natural predecessor for Inzaghi. But when he left and took the Parma job, we didn't know if that was going to happen. But now we know that Chivu is coming back. The real question is that going to be a smooth transition or not? And sometimes it happens, sometimes it doesn't. We'll have to find out.
Yeah, we will see. And last year, one of their top scorer from last season, some of the key players is Marcus Thuram. He's a 27-year-old Frenchman center forward. He had 14 goals and 7 assists. And speaking of assists, their assist leader from last season is Federico Di Marco. With that kind of name, he's a 27-year-old Italian for sure, left back. He had 9 assists along with 4 goals last season.
And there's a lot of good players to watch on this Inter side, as we've all seen them. They just seem to always have players that are pumping out goals. But the one that you're going to watch this season, look out for Boni, Anjoan Boni, 21-year-old Frenchman, center forward, 6 goals and 4 assists last season. And you know, all the stars have been in this Inter squad for a while. Lautaro, Bastoni, Thuram, Varela, Dumfries. But the intriguing one to watch, of course, is this guy we're talking about now. Parma's, well, he's not Parma's anymore, but he came from Parma. Boni. They are placing a bet on him being the future of their attack. And the dude's good. He's just a big center forward. And I feel like with the better team around him, maybe he's going to be banging in a lot more goals than the 6 he got last season. They're to win Serie A. They're plus 250, which is just behind Napoli, and to finish in the top 4, they're minus 310. So it's pretty favorites, pretty odds-on favorites to finish that high. Word on the street, though, odds have Inter right behind Napoli, as we just said, and I kind of agree with that. They're a great team, but the squad at this point doesn't seem to have been significantly better or haven't gotten significantly better. Obviously, Boni comes in, but I think he's a bet on the future, maybe not so much going into this season. And so the change at coach means it could be some growing pains. Overall, I think Napoli have the upper hand in the Scudetto race going into the season. And just looking at the kits real quick, because Inter's kits, I don't know, man. It's just not fun. Like I look at the home one, it's kind of weird. And I look at the away one and there's like these random plus signs, crosses, X's. Yeah. I don't know. Like it's just weird.
I don't know. I thought they look pretty cool, but probably
you like them. Okay.
Yeah, they're pretty cool. They're a little different, It's not just the regular, just one thing.
It's because it's your favorite color, so
it's not my favorite color. All right. Anyway, well, we will go ahead and move on, and our next team we're going to be talking about is Juventus. Juventus finished 4th last season. They had 58 goals for, which was seventh best in the league, and also 4 more than they had the year prior. And they had 35 goals against, which was tied for second best in the league, and 4 more than they had the year before.
Strange season for Juve. Thiago Motta had Juve towards the top end of the table, but couldn't crack them into the top 4. And that was because in the first 20 matches of the season, they drew 13 times. After Tudor took over at the tail end of March, Juve only lost 1 match with him in charge, and they got into the top 4. So good on them. But they were in the Champions League last season. They finished 20th in the league phase table and were knocked out in the playoffs in the round of 16 by PSV. And yes, they will be in the Champions League again this season, and hopefully under better circumstances.
Yes, sir. And like you said, since March of 2025, the Croatian Igor Tudor took over. And tell us a little bit more about that.
Yeah, he took over for Thiago Motta, as we mentioned earlier. And he did great things coming in for the final months of the season. But overall, it's kind of hard to say the way that Juve will be going into this season, because Tudor, even though he had a good end of the season, it wasn't all, what's the word I'm looking for? Like butterflies and rainbows, I guess. Yeah, but we got to have like a harder word for this, like anyway.
I don't know. We'll think about it. Our producers
put it in the comments.
Yeah. Comments down below. But taking a look at some of their key players from last season, their top scorer was Dusan Vlahovic.
Hey, that was actually pretty good. Yeah.
Right. He's Serbian center forward, 25-year-old, had 10 goals along with 4 assists. And their assist leader they had last season is Kefren Thuram. 24-year-old Frenchman, center mid. He had 6 assists and also tacked on 4 goals to go with it.
And this is one of the players to watch that I'm actually really, really excited about. I think most people around this part of the world are, because it's the 25-year-old Canadian center forward, Jonathan David. And Jonathan David's been lighting up France for a couple of years now with Lille, and he's been linked with moves to higher profile clubs for forever, it feels like. But he chose to see out his contract at Lille, and he did that. And now he comes over on a free to Juve, and all eyes will be on him and how he copes with the Serie A. It's a bit of a step up from Ligue 1, however you say it over there. But yeah, Jonathan David, one of the players to watch this season for Juve. Where do odds just will finish? Well, plus 450 is the 3rd best. So obviously they have Juve climbing up those ranks, and finishing in the top 4 is almost a lock with a minus 175. Odds have them just behind Napoli and Inter, as we just talked about, finishing in the top 4 for sure. But they also added really good pieces to their squad to improve the depth. Whenever you kind of look at who they got, Lloyd Kelly from Newcastle, Nico Gonzalez comes over from Fiorentina, and then, of course, Jonathan David on a free, which is just crazy. So Tudor he's back. He gets a whole offseason with the boys. He gets some pieces to kind of plug some gaps. And there's really not a ton going against Juve coming into this year other than the unknowns, which is how is Igor Tudor going to do with a full season under his belt? we saw a good enough sample size to know that he'll be decent. And so I think top 4 is in the cards for them.
Yeah,
That's how I
we will
feel.
see. We will see. And I know one person's gonna be watching. My boy Christian. Shout out my boy Christian from
Hey,
work. He's a UVA fan and taught us the proper way how to say Juve, Juventus. So
Juve.
thank you. And we will move on from Juve, my boy Christian's team, to another one of our old stomping grounds as we go to Lazio. Lazio finished 7th last year. They had 61 goals for, which was tied 3rd best. That's also 12 more than they had the previous year. And they had 49 goals against, which is 10 more that they had the year before. But it was still good enough to keep them at 10th best in the league.
Yeah, Lazio had a underwhelming season, I guess is the best way to describe it, under Baroni, and they finished 7th for the 2nd year in a row. The difference with 7th this year, though, is that they did not get into Europe, and that was kind of the nail in the coffin for Baroni. Going into Europe, though, they topped the Europa League phase table, which means they were top out of, I think, 35 teams. They were the number 1 team in that league phase table, but they were they beat Victoria Pilsen in the round of 16, but they famously got bounced by Bodo Glimt in the quarterfinals, who we all know because that was a team that had like a stadium with 5,000 people, something crazy like that. And so they will not be back in Europe for the first time in a while, it feels like.
Yeah, sir. And their head coach was hired on this summer. The Italian Maurizio Sarri was hired on. And he was with Lazio from 2021 and 2024. He took over for the sacked Marco Baroni after just a year away from football. So good on him. Let's see what he can do with it. The key players that they had.
Sorry, he just seems like when you see him, he just seems like a coach that walks around the touchline with a cigarette in his mouth. Like he's like an old Italian man. I don't know. I just always think of that.
I gotta see that. He's got to do it.
He's like a hard ass Italian dude that has a cigarette. Like
he's got to do it just once. We'll see. But their key players, their top scorer that they had from last season is the Spaniard, the 38-year-old Pedro. He had 10 goals and 1 assist out on the right wing. And their assist leader that they had was Nuno Tavares, the Portuguese man from left back. Sorry, he's 25-year-old, had a total of 8 assists last season.
Player to watch for our Lazio is Nicolo Rovella. He's 23-year-old Italian defensive midfielder. Rovella is a highly rated young defensive midfielder, and they had him on loan from Juve last year and bring him in permanently this year. And it's obviously he's going to have to be part of that team if they're going to get better on the defensive side, kind of blanketing those center backs, because they were mid-table in goals allowed, like we just talked about, but it was 10 more than the season prior. So we got to get better at that. Their odds to win Serie A plus 3,000, to finish top 4 plus 450. And word on the street for our Lazio, odds have them 7th again and going for the three-peat. That's what that would be. With Sarri at the helm again, you would think that they would give them an edge to finish a little bit higher, but the squad is getting older. It is getting a little stale. They didn't really bring anyone in of note to strengthen, so I don't know. I have a bad feeling about our Lazio this year. I don't feel like they're a team that you look at and say, yeah, they're definitely getting into the top 6. Odds have them 7, so you get my point. But I feel like they're probably a little closer to a mid-table finish, 10th, 11th, something like that. Hopefully not, but I think so.
Let's go. We're gonna hope for better for our old stomping grounds, and a couple of pictures in there. I wonder if we can add those at some point. But a couple of pictures of our Lazio game that we went to. But we will go ahead and move on from our old stomping grounds to my favorite name team of Serie A, which is the Milkman, Lecce. Lecce, just because it's also Spanish, finished 17th, just above relegation last year. They had 27 goals for. Mind you, there are 38 games in a season, which was dead last, and it's also 5 less than they had the previous season. And they had 58 goals against, which was tied for 16th worst in the league, and also 4 more than they had the year prior.
Yeah, Lecce, or the Milkman, they had a pretty bad season, but just not bad enough to get relegated is the best way I can put that. They survived by 3 points, but they didn't win any of their last 9 league games and lost 6 of those 9 games. So not a good end of the season, but they end up surviving.
Yeah, and they are headed up by the Italian that just joined this summer, Eusebio Di Francesco. And tell us a little bit more about Eusebio Di Francesco. I think I said that right.
Yeah. So Lecce went through two managers last season, in Gotti and in Giampolo, however you say that. But they decided to go back with Di Francesco after his last stint with them, which was back in 2012. He was managing Venezia last season, and they went down. So I don't know how you like look at that coach and be like, yeah, that's my guy. That's
Not sure, not sure. But we can relate here at Austin FC because we hired a coach that got fired because he was not doing it. But that's for another conversation. We will go ahead and move forward with the key players of the top scorer last season for Lecce, the Milkman, which was Nikola Kristovic. He's from Montenegro. He's 25 years old, center forward, had 11 goals and 5 assists. And those 5 assists are also the lead on the team as well. And, that's why Kristovic is going to be the main man for Lecce as they go forward.
Yeah, and I think if we're talking about a team that is, I don't know. I mean, he's the only thing that's good about this team. When you watch them, that's kind of where they are, and the odds kind of reflect that, being a one-man team, plus 100,000 to win the Serie A, plus 6,500 to finish, but a plus 170 to be relegated. So tells you everything you need to know about where the odds have them. Word on the street for Lecce: they're one of the teams that will be battling to kind of stay up and not be relegated and be in that fight all year. They went through 2 managers last year, like we just kept saying, and now they're relying on a manager who led Valencia directly to the Italian second division. So I just don't have a good feeling about it. Nothing that I look at this Lecce team and the Milkmen tells me that they're going to be up in the 26-27 season. So hopefully they can turn that around, because, the Milkmen's probably one of the coolest nicknames we have for a team, but it doesn't feel like that at the moment.
No, I agree. So let's see. I also like saying their name, so at least try to stay in the league for next year. We'll see. But we will also move forward because the next team we are going to talk about are the defending champions, Napoli. Napoli finished first last year. They had 59 goals for, 4 more than they had a year prior, and it was also 6th best in the league. But as we say, defense wins championships, and they had 27 goals against last year, which was best in the league, and also 21 less than they had the year before. Crazy.
Yeah, Napoli were right at the top of Serie A since the start of last year. They seemed to always be first or second, never really past that. And it was the year of one Scotty McTominay, who was the player of the season for the Serie A and for the No Business Soccer podcast. Having no European matches to contend with helped them, but they did have some questionable results against teams that they should have beaten last year. So that is the one blemish on their record.
Yeah, and they are headed up again last year, just starting out by the Italian Antonio Conte, and hoping to continue that going forward. The key players that they had last year is Danny P's the top scorer is Danny P's favorite, Romelu Lukaku, the 32-year-old Belgian center forward. Lukaku. Yeah, he loves Lukaku. Please let him know down in the comments. Just let him know he loves Lukaku or something like that. He'll love it. But Romelu Lukaku had 14 goals last season, along with 10 assists, and those 10 assists are also the best on the team, which makes him the assist leader for Napoli as well.
Now, usually the player to watch for these teams is a young up-and-coming talent. This is a complete opposite. The player to watch for Napoli this season is Kevin De Bruyne, a 34-year-old attacking midfield from Belgium, from Manchester City. He makes a move to play for Conte, and is he past his prime? Probably, yeah. But his technical ability will always be there. And I'm really excited to watch how he does in the Serie A and under Conte specifically, because this is going to be a fun team who just seems to be getting better and better. The odds have them winning Serie A with the plus 200 and to finish in the top 4 for sure. Word on the street, though, Conte's first season was a success, and he lost Osimhen and Kvaratskhelia. So odds have them just edging out Inter for the Scudetto. And you got to think, if he lost those 2 players and was able to win the league, then what's he going to be able to do whenever he adds in Kevin De Bruyne? He adds in my favorite Serie A keeper, Milinkovic Savic, over from Torino. He gets in Bukema from Bologna as a center back. And more and more, this team is just becoming looking like a team that's going to be hard to beat, a juggernaut in the Serie A. And they're in the Champions League this season, so it's going to be a lot of fun. I'm looking forward to it. I think they do win. And I actually like their kits a lot. They're kind of just like simplistic. What's the word I'm looking for? Like a minimalist, but they're just nice. They just look good. So
yeah, and their away kit is that kind of like beige, brownish kind of thing that I'm really digging. It's pretty nice away kit. Yeah,
it's nice. It's nice, right? It's nice.
Yeah. Yep. And we will go ahead and move on from a powerhouse to not quite a powerhouse as we talk about Parma next. Parma finished 16th place last year, just 2 spots above relegation. They had 44 goals for, 58 goals against. We don't have anything to compare them with because they just got promoted last season, but it was 11th best for goals for last season, 16th worst for goals against. I'm going to go ahead and go with worst.
Yeah. And last season, Parma achieved the objective that any newly promoted team wants to achieve, which is survival in the top flight. They're fighting for another year. They started out pretty hot, but results petered out towards the end of the campaign. It was kind of weird to watch that. We'll talk more about that in a second.
Yeah, and their coach this year is the Spaniard Carlos Cuesta. I'm going to say Cuesta. Again, he joined this summer. Tell us a little bit more about where he came from.
Yeah, Cuesta takes his managerial role after being an assistant with Arsenal for 5 years. So this is his first big gig in a top league, I guess we can call it. But he's been on the radar for being a coach, a head manager, I guess you can call it, for a while now. Of course, being under Arteta over there at Arsenal kind of gives him some pedigree. But will it actually happen? Because Parma, that's a tough team to jump in on. So.
Yeah, we'll see. We will see. And their key players that they had last year, their top scorer, we talked about him a little while ago, Ange Boni. Bonnie. I was trying so hard to not say Bronny.
Almost spit out my drink.
Boney, old Boney. He's a 21-year-old Frenchman center forward that had 6 goals and 4 assists. And the assist leader that they had last season is Manuel Valeri. He's a 26-year-old Italian left back with 6 assists and 2 goals to tack on to it.
Yeah, but neither of them are the player to watch for Parma, because the player to watch is one of my favorite Serie A players of last season, Denis Man, the 26-year-old Romanian right winger, had 4 goals and 5 assists, so it doesn't scream someone you want to watch off the page right there. But let me tell you why, because Denis Man started the season on fire for Parma, scoring 4 goals and 4 assists in the first 14 matches of the season. Really fun to watch, super skillful, technical winger. He was kind of just running up and down the pitch, and it was a lot of fun. I kept sending highlights and saying, hey, I think this guy's going to be going to a big team. And something happened in the to his back in January, and he was never the same after that. I don't think he logged another goal or an assist after that. And, he went from starting virtually every game to being a second half sub, like a super sub at the end. So I don't know what happened to his back. Hopefully it's better, but Denis Man was the player to watch or is the player to watch going into this next season. The odds have Parma obviously not going to win it, plus 100,000 to finish in the top 4, plus 5,000, but to be relegated is plus 300, 7th best, worst odds, however you want to put that. And when you look at the comings and goings, they lost Boni, who is their top goal scorer, and they bring in a central midfielder, which I don't know. I'm not going to lie. So I can't tell you that they have a lot going on by way of transfers. The word on the street for Parma is that obviously losing your top scorer and one of the young, talented spots on the team, the odds have them staying up but not getting near mid-table, and that feels about right. The rumors are, though, that Gio Reyna from Dortmund might be coming in, and I'm not sure how much of an impact one player has on a team, and but he could certainly help put some more goals in the back of the net, and maybe he can link up with Denis Man, and it would look really nice. I was trying to figure out, why would he be going to Parma? Of all the teams, why would he go there? And the only thing I could think is that Cuesta coming from Arsenal, maybe there's some kind of links there, maybe his dad knew, I don't know, but it doesn't make sense, but he is linked to be making that move to Parma. So that's where I have Parma. I think they're going to be fighting that relegation battle. Unless Gio comes, then they might be a little better.
Dude, that would be interesting to see, have another American. Maybe it's just,
right?
Americans like going to Italy. I have no idea. So,
hey, food's good.
Idea. The food is very good. But we will go ahead and move on from Parma, and we go on to Roma, one of the most confusing teams that we had last season. Last season, they finished 12th. I believe they had 56 goals for, which was actually 6 less than they had the previous year. And they had 35 goals against, so still a solid defense, because that was second best in the league. And it was also 11 less goals than they had the year prior.
Yeah, and I think I messed up this one too. They finished 5th.
Yeah, 5th. I'm pretty sure it's not 12th. We remember Roma. Yeah,
my notes. Oh god, it's the second time.
For a while, it was like they might finish 12th. Okay.
But so for Roma, though, they finished 5th after sacking De Rossi and even Juric. Claudio Ranieri steps in, And the club was closer to relegation than the European spots whenever he joined. Roma went on a tear in Serie A and ultimately ended in 5th place, which is what I should have put on the notes, but I messed that up there. In Europe, though, they were knocked out by Athletic Bilbao in the round of 16 in the Europa League. And yes, they will be back in the Europa League by virtue of finishing 5th.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. And excuse me. Their coach is Gian Piero Gasparini. The Italian joined this summer, and tell us just a little bit more. Did he come from the ATL, I believe, right?
Yes. He's the longtime manager for Atalanta, and Atalanta, as you know, with him, he was there for forever, it seems like, and that team had just been ascending. Prior to him, they weren't really where they are now, and he leaves that team to come take over Roma. Apparently, he's really, really good friends with Ranieri, and he kind of like is being ushered in to take on that team to the new era. He's not the youngest coach. I mean, I don't have his age here, but he's not like some young stud of a coach. He's just a very good coach. And we see that with Atalanta and how they've been recently. So I'm actually really excited to see how this team does under Gasparini in Rome.
Nice. And a good referral for that new job. Good job, him.
Yeah, right.
Key players they had last season, their top scorer was Artem Dovbyk. The Ukrainian 28-year-old center forward had 12 goals along with 3 assists. And then the assist leader they had from last season was a 3-way tie between Sal El Shaarawy,
Sule El Shaarawy, and Salamakers.
Salamakers, yeah.
I
too many A's in that one, man. Yeah. Shaarawy. Yeah.
The player to watch for them, though, is definitely Artem Dovbyk. He won the Golden Boot with Girona in La Liga in 23-24, and then made the big switch to Serie A with Roma this past season. He was their top scorer, but I know that he could do better. He kind of got a slow start, and which, I mean, to be fair, he switched to a way bigger club in a league that he's never been in. So, I mean, yeah, it's probably going to take some time. I feel like he improves, and so does Roma this season. The odds have them to win Serie A is plus 1,200. That is the 5th best odds to win Serie A, and to finish in the top 4 is a plus 140. So they're saying it's almost a lock that they're there. And word on the street for them, odds makers say they'll finish right behind Milan in the 5th, like we were just saying, but I'm actually pretty bullish on them this season. The teams above them, excluding Napoli, who we think are really, really good, Inter, Juve, and Milan. Inter lost Inzaghi. Juve have Tudor, and you know, he did have them playing well, but it's nothing that's a lock. And Milan, they have Allegri, which is scary, but he has to come in and prove it with a different team. So I think Gasparini is the best bet to make it in a new team improve. And I really think that people are sleeping on Roma, saying they're 5th. I just feel like the squad is ready to take a leap. And after what we saw them do last season, I feel like they might be runners up to Napoli and probably passing up Inter, Milan, and Juve in the process. I don't know why I feel that. I'm just very bullish on one Roma side this year. And maybe it's because their third kit is probably one of the cleanest kits I've seen in a long time. I love it, and I want to get it.
It looks like it's just a straight up like private,
like a nice polo, right? Yeah. Like a nice polo. It's really good. So
yeah, not bad. And a bold prediction. So we will see pretty soon once the season starts. And but we will keep moving forward. We got 2 left. The next band, I almost said band. The next team that we're going to talk about is Torino. Last year they finished 11th place. They had 39 goals for, which was 14th best in the league. Mind you, there are 38 games, so 1 apiece. Pretty much seems like it. That's also 3 more than they had the previous year, and they had 45 goals against, which is 9 more than they had the year prior.
Damn it. Bad timing. How they do last season. So Torino finished 11th and had about as mid-table a season as you can have. They started the year losing 6 of their first 12 games, but the defense toughened up a little with Milinkovic Savic in the back and between the sticks. The rest of the way, they weren't winning a lot, but they were definitely earning draws. So that's how it ended for them last season.
Yeah, and they got a new coach this summer, the Italian Marco Baroni. He just joined this summer, but tell us a little bit more about where he came from.
Yeah, Paolo Vanoli was sacked after 1 season with Torino. He signed a multi-year contract, and they were just like, all right, get out of here. In steps the sacked Marco Baroni from Lazio. So Marco Baroni leaves Lazio after a disappointing season, and he takes over Torino. And I know that it happens a lot, but Serie A really feels like it happens a lot, where it's like, hey, you did bad at that team. Come and take over our team. That's what it kind of feels like with Marco Baroni.
Well, it hits close to home. It hurts. It hurts. But their key players that they had, their top scorer from last season is Shea Adams, the 29-year-old Scotsman center forward, had 9 goals and 3 assists to tackle along with it. And their assist leader that they had is Valentino Lazaro. He had the 29-year-old Austrian left midfielder had 7 assists.
And Shea Adams is the player to watch if you're tuning in to watch Torino, because he had a great first season with Torino coming over for Southampton, and he was the top scorer, the target man up front. And if they're going to improve in the table this season, he'll be a big part of the reason why. And the odds have them plus 50,000 to win Serie A, to finish top 4 is 2,000, and to be relegated is plus 650. So if we take a look at the word on the street, Torino, they just seem to have a knack for finishing mid-table lately. The odds have them staying on that trend, and I don't know if Baroni moves the needle for them. We just talked about it a second ago. Bringing in a coach that kind of proves that he's not maybe going to be the best, and losing MK Savage, as we'll call him, which is probably one of the coolest nicknames, MK Savage. But that can't be a positive. I think they slip down the table. I think they probably end up around 13th to 15th, more so than the mid-table finish that the odds are putting them at.
Okay, and we will see. We will see. And we have one team left. It's actually my honorable mention for best named team in the league, Udinese. Udinese is just fun to say.
Really? Okay.
Yeah, Udinese is just great to say. But Udinese last year finished 12th. I think that's where we've been getting wrong.
Yeah, I know.
Finished 12th.
They actually finished 12th.
Okay, good. They had 41 goals for, which was 4 last season, which was 4 more than they had the year prior. And they had 56 goals against, which is actually 3 more than they had the year before.
And Udinese were good enough to not really be worried about relegation and being in that relegation scrap, but they weren't really troubling the teams that were right above them at mid-table. They finished 15th in 23-24, and through small improvement, they did get to 12th. And so, yeah, that's kind of how they finish, increments.
Yes, sir. And that small increment came behind Costa Runjak, the German. He's been there since last year. And the key players that they had last year, their top scorer was Lorenzo Luca. The 24-year-old Italian center forward had 12 goals and 2 assists to tackle along with it. And their assist leader that they had was Sandy Lovric, the Slovenian center midfielder, 27 years old, had 4 assists and also added on 2 goals.
Yeah, this team is one of the ones where we're going to leave it up to the Udinese fans. You tell us who's the player to watch for this squad, and we'll do that. How about that? The odds have them finishing the odds to win Serie A plus 70,000, to finish in the top 4 plus 3,000, and to be relegated plus 500. As you can see, they get better and better as we trend down. So word on the street for this team is they'll finish between 12th and 15th in the table, which is where they finished around the past 2 seasons. And I'm cool with this because I don't think they'll be able to catch the teams in the mid-table like they weren't able to last season, but I think they are a bit better than the teams fighting in that relegation scrap. So, Udinese is kind of like that filler team, filling out the rest of the table, but not quite pushing towards mid-table.
Yes, sir. And I kind of like their almost it, because I kind of like their home kit, because usually you have a white kit with like black stripes. This one's like obviously a black kit with a couple of white stripes.
That's
pretty
cool.
Nice. Pretty nice.
That is cool. Kind of like fades down. All right. I like it.
But for sure, that is it. Yeah, that's the last team we're going to talk about as we go over the top 4 leagues in Europe: La Liga, the Premier League, Bundesliga, Serie A, and we have all released those just either the day before or right after this. We don't know, but pretty soon. So be sure to go look at all of those and like and subscribe so you don't miss any of those coming out. Again, we can't wait to talk to you soon, and we will talk to you soon. Dang it.
Peace.